What if the decision you thought would bring safety ends up costing you the life you love? Would you still make it? At 82, I've learned many lessons, but one haunts me most: moving into a nursing home. I thought it would give me care and comfort, but instead it stripped away my independence, purpose, and joy in ways I never imagined. If you or a loved one are considering a nursing home, whether in a Chicago condo or a Florida bungalow, this video might change your perspective. I'm sharing 6 hard truths I wish I'd known before making this life-altering choice, drawing from my own regrets and the profound lessons I learned during a 2-month stay in a nursing home. These truths reveal the hidden costs of such a decision, from loneliness to the loss of dignity, and by the end, a final lesson will challenge how you view aging itself. Stay with me to uncover insights that could reshape your future or that of someone you love. Subscribe to Elders Wisdom, hit the bell, and share this with those who need to hear it. Comment lesson if you're ready to reflect on what truly matters. Let's begin. Background and reasons for moving into a nursing home. At 82, I thought I'd seen it all until I moved into a nursing home. It seemed like the right choice at the time. My family encouraged it, assuring me I'd have all the care and comfort I needed. My daughter said, "Mom, you'll be safe, and we won't have to worry." I believed her. I'd been managing on my own, but after a fall that left me shaken, the idea of round-the-clock support sounded reassuring. I imagined a place where I'd be looked after, where I could rest without the burdens of cooking or cleaning. But the reality was far from what I'd pictured. The moment I arrived, I felt a shift. My small room, the sterile walls, the rigid schedule, it didn't feel like home. Breakfast was at 7 a.m., whether I was hungry or not. Lights out at 9 p.m., even if I wanted to stay up. And simple joys like a spontaneous walk required permission and waiting for an available staff member. Another experience deepened my perspective. Years earlier, I had spent 2 months in a nursing home for recovery after a surgery, thinking it would be temporary. I never imagined I'd end up there permanently later in life. During that short stay, I met residents who had been there for years, some forgotten by family, others clinging to fading memories of their past lives. Those 2 months opened my eyes to the emotional and physical toll of such a place, but I didn't fully grasp the lessons until I moved in for good. I saw the difference between those who lived with peace and those burdened by regret, and I realized aging isn't about the years you have left. It's about how you spend them. Reflecting on this, a specialist psychologist notes that the decision to enter a nursing home often comes from a place of care, but it's rarely made with full awareness of what's at stake. We focus on the promise of safety and overlook the emotional cost. The convenience of a nursing home can come at the expense of freedom, purpose, and even health, as I learned through my journey. What I thought would be a simple transition turned into a profound loss. And the 6 hard truths I'm about to share reveal why this decision changed everything for me. Let's start with the first lesson, one that hit me hardest of all. Lesson 1. Losing independence, the value of small things. The biggest shock of moving into a nursing home wasn't the unfamiliar faces or the set meal times. It was a sudden realization that I'd lost control over my own life. Before I moved in, I had my routines. I decided when to wake up, what to eat, and how to spend my day. I could take a walk whenever I wanted, cook a simple meal, or sit quietly in my favorite chair with a book. But in the nursing home, my time was no longer my own. Everything ran on a schedule I didn't create. Breakfast was at 7 a.m., even if I wasn't hungry. Lights out happened at 9 p.m., whether I was ready for bed or not. If I wanted to take a walk outside, I needed permission, and often I had to wait until someone was available to assist me. Simple decisions, what to eat, what to wear, started feeling like privileges rather than basic rights. I'll never forget my first week there. I woke up in a bed that didn't feel like mine, stretched, and reached for the book I'd been reading at home. But as I looked around, it hit me. This wasn't my home. My books, my favorite chair, the little comforts I'd spent years collecting were gone. In their place were sterile walls, a bed I didn't choose, and a sinking feeling I couldn't shake. I was no longer in charge of my life. The hardest part was realizing that once you give up your independence, getting it back is nearly impossible. You adapt because you have to. You stop arguing when they tell you what's for dinner. You stop asking to go for a walk whenever you want. You learn to fit into their system, but in the process, you lose a piece of yourself. During my earlier 2-month stay in a nursing home for recovery, I saw this loss of independence in others too. There was a woman, a former teacher, who once stood in front of a classroom guiding young minds. Now, she needed help just to get out of bed. She told me, I used to shape futures. Now I can't even shape my morning. Another man, who had traveled the world, needed a nurse to feed him. He said, I never thought about what it meant to lift a spoon to my mouth until I couldn't do it myself. Their words echoed my own experience years later. Independence is a precious gift we don't truly value until it's gone. A specialist psychologist observes that independence is more than just the ability to do things. It's the essence of who we are. Those small acts, like choosing your own bedtime or cooking a meal, define your identity and give you a sense of agency. Losing them doesn't just change your routine. It changes how you see yourself. The advice here is to cherish your ability to make choices while you still can. Stay active, maintain daily habits, and fight to keep your independence as long as possible. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make life yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever thought possible. Next, let's explore a pain that cuts even deeper than losing independence. The ache of loneliness. Lesson 2. Loneliness, the greatest enemy of old age. One of the hardest truths I faced in the nursing home was the overwhelming loneliness that came with it. I thought I'd stay connected to my family, that they'd visit often. They promised they would, and in the beginning, they did. My daughter came by once a week, my grandchildren visited on weekends, and for a little while, I felt tied to my old life. But as months passed, the visits dwindled. My daughter started calling instead of coming. My grandchildren got busy with school and work, and holidays, when I needed the most, became the hardest. Everyone promised they'd come, but plans changed at the last minute. I found myself sitting alone in the common room, watching other residents stare at the door, hoping today would be the day someone remembered them. During my 2-month recovery stay years earlier, I saw this loneliness even more starkly. There was a woman who sat by the window every day, rain or shine, her hands folded in her lap, eyes scanning the street. She told me, I keep hoping my son will visit, but he has a family of his own now. He's busy, maybe next week, maybe next month. She smiled as she spoke, but her voice was soft, as if trying to convince herself more than me. Another man, in his late 80s, shared a story that stayed with me. He said, I spent my whole life building a business, making money, securing my future, but I never built a family. Now I have everything I work for, but no one to share it with. In that moment, I understood that the hardest part of growing old isn't losing your strength. It's realizing you've been left behind. Sometimes, the worst pain isn't being forgotten. It's knowing you still remember. This loneliness isn't just sadness. It's a heavy burden that weighs on your spirit. I felt it most one evening, sitting in my room, holding my phone, debating whether to call my son. I didn't want to be a burden, didn't want to remind him I was here waiting for a visit that might never come. So I put the phone down, and that's when it hit me. This was my life now, watching days go by, hoping someone would remember to include me. The longer you're in a nursing home, the easier it is for people to assume you're fine, that you're adjusting, that you don't need as much attention. But the truth is, the longer you're there, the more you need them. A specialist psychologist notes that loneliness isn't just the absence of company. It's the feeling of being erased from the lives of those you love. It's a silent disease that can erode your spirit faster than any illness. The advice here is to build meaningful relationships now, while you have the chance. Call your loved ones regularly, join a community group, nurture friendships. Because these connections are what will sustain you in your later years. If you know someone in a nursing home, reach out to them today. A simple call or visit can mean more than you'll ever know. Ask yourself, who in your life might be waiting for you right now? Don't let them wait too long. Next, let's look at another loss that's just as profound, the loss of purpose. Lesson 3. Losing a sense of purpose, when there's nothing left to do. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was just changing where I lived. I didn't realize I was also changing why I lived. At home, I had responsibilities, routines, and hobbies that gave me a reason to get up each morning. Even small things, watering my plants, making my own coffee, tidying up my space, gave me a sense of purpose. But in the nursing home, those daily rituals disappeared. Meals were made for me. Cleaning was done by someone else, and the plants I loved weren't mine to care for anymore. At first, I told myself it would be nice to finally relax. No more chores, no more responsibilities, just rest. But after a few weeks, I realized something was missing. The days felt long, stretched out with nothing to do, but wait. I saw it in other residents too. People who had once been full of energy now spent their days sitting, staring, waiting for time to pass. One man, George, an 84-year-old former carpenter, embodied this loss. At home, he was always fixing things, building little projects in his garage. But in the nursing home, there were no tools, no projects, nothing for him to create. I watched as he slowly withdrew his hands, once strong and skilled, now idle in his lap. He told me one day, "I feel useless," and I knew exactly what he meant. When you no longer have something to care for or work toward, life starts to lose its meaning. The mind slows down, the body follows. And soon you feel like just another resident in a place where time moves, but nothing really changes. During my 2-month stay years earlier, I saw a contrast that deepened this lesson. Some residents found happiness in small joys, a warm cup of tea, a good conversation, the feeling of sunlight on their face. But most struggled with the lack of purpose. They had lost the daily tasks that gave their lives structure, and without them, they felt adrift. I realized purpose doesn't have to be grand. It can be as simple as tending to a plant or writing a letter. But in a nursing home, even those small acts are often taken away. A specialist psychologist observes that purpose is what keeps us alive, no matter our age. It's not about big achievements. It's about the small acts that make us feel needed and alive. The advice here is to cultivate a hobby now, something you can carry into your later years, whether it's painting, gardening, or journaling. If you know someone in a nursing home, help them find purpose again, perhaps by giving them a plant to care for or encouraging them to share their stories. Ask yourself, what gives your life meaning? What can you do to hold on to it for as long as possible? Because when purpose fades, so does the will to keep going. Next, let's explore how the nursing home affected my health in ways I never expected. Lesson 4. Health declines faster than expected. Before I moved into the nursing home, I was doing well for my age. I wasn't running marathons, but I could take care of myself, go for walks, cook my own meals, and keep my legs strong with little routines like grocery shopping or stretching in the mornings. But once I moved in, everything changed. At first, it seemed like I was just taking it easy. Meals were brought to me, so I no longer had to stand in the kitchen to cook. If I needed something, I could push a button, and someone would help. But what I didn't realize was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. I stopped moving as much, and soon my legs felt stiffer. I sat more than I used to, and before I knew it, getting up from a chair started feeling like a chore. The muscles I'd spent years maintaining were disappearing faster than I ever expected. I wasn't alone in this decline. I saw it happen to others too. My neighbor Alice, an 81-year-old woman, was lively when she first arrived. She used to take daily walks around the facility, insisting she wouldn't slow down just because of her age. But after a few months, I noticed she wasn't walking as much. Then she started using a walker, and soon after a wheelchair. One day, she looked at me and said, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." That's exactly what it felt like. The more help we were given, the more we seemed to need it. People who walked in on their own 2 feet were suddenly relying on wheelchairs. And those who had once been independent now needed assistance with things they'd never struggled with before. During my 2-month recovery stay, I met a man who reinforced this lesson. He had once been wealthy, owning multiple properties and traveling the world, but now his body had betrayed him. He couldn't walk without assistance, couldn't eat on his own, and spent his days in a wheelchair. He told me, "I spent my whole life chasing money, thinking it would give me freedom. But what is freedom if you don't have the strength to enjoy it? His words stuck with me. No amount of money can buy back your health. And in a nursing home, where everything is designed to make life easier, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience. It's about survival. A specialist psychologist notes that staying active is crucial at any age, but especially as we grow older. The nursing home's convenience can be a double-edged sword, reducing the motivation to move and accelerating physical decline. The advice here is to maintain daily movement, whether it's a short walk, light yoga, or stretching, while you still can. If you're considering a nursing home, explore alternatives like in-home care that allow you to stay active and independent. Ask yourself, what can you do today to keep your body strong tomorrow? Because once you slow down, getting back up is harder than you think. Next, let's look at a loss that cuts to the core of who we are, our privacy and dignity. Lesson 5. Losing privacy and dignity. One thing I didn't fully consider before moving into the nursing home was how much privacy I would lose. At home, I had my own space. I could close my bedroom door, sit in silence if I wanted, and do things on my own terms. But in the nursing home, privacy became a luxury I didn't always get to keep. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff came in and out for scheduled room checks. Shared spaces meant I was rarely alone, and even simple things like getting dressed or using the bathroom often required assistance. I know they were just doing their job, but it's not easy to accept help for things you've done independently your entire life. I remember my first week, struggling with the idea that I had to ask for permission to do things I'd once done without thinking. Want to take a shower? You might have to wait until someone is available to help. Need to use the restroom? Pressing the call button sometimes meant waiting longer than you'd like. Even meal choices were limited. If you didn't like what was on the menu, too bad. Then there was the issue of roommates. Not everyone gets a private room, and sharing a space with someone you didn't choose can be frustrating. I was lucky to have a kind roommate, but I heard stories from others who weren't so fortunate. Some had roommates who were loud, unclean, or had cognitive issues that made sleep nearly impossible. No matter how much you try to make your room feel like home, it's never truly yours. Dignity is a hard thing to lose, and I didn't realize how much of mine I'd have to surrender until I was already there. When people knock but don't always wait for an answer before coming in, when you're spoken to like a patient instead of a person, when your daily routines are dictated by a schedule you didn't create, it changes you. You start feeling less like yourself and more like just another name on a list. During my 2-month stay, I saw how this loss of privacy stripped away happiness for many residents. They longed for the simple freedom of closing a door and being alone, a freedom I now realized was tied to the small joys that make life meaningful. A specialist psychologist observes that dignity is the foundation of self-worth, and losing it can wound your spirit deeply. The constant oversight in a nursing home, while meant to ensure safety, often comes at the cost of feeling human. The advice here is to consider alternatives that preserve your privacy, like in-home care or living with family, if possible. Before making such a decision, have an open conversation with your loved ones about your needs and boundaries. Ask yourself, are you prepared to give up the privacy and control you've had your entire life? Because once it's gone, it's hard to get back. Next, let's explore a final truth that makes leaving a nursing home harder than you might expect. Lesson 6. Leaving is harder than you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself it was temporary. I thought I'd give it a try, see how things went. And if I didn't like it, I could always leave. But what I didn't realize was just how hard it would be to get out once I was in. At first, it seemed simple. If I didn't like it, I'd go back home. But home wasn't the same anymore. My house sat empty, and maintaining it from a distance became difficult. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting out the place. When I brought up the idea of returning, they hesitated. Are you sure you can manage on your own? Wouldn't it be safer to stay? We just want what's best for you, they said. Their concern was genuine, but it made me doubt myself. Then there was the issue of my physical decline. After months of living in a place where I didn't have to cook, clean, or even walk far, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. The independence I'd once had slipped away, making the idea of moving back home more daunting than I'd imagined. I wasn't as confident in my ability to live alone, and that fear kept me stuck. I met others who had the same experience. They thought they'd try the nursing home for a little while, only to realize leaving wasn't as easy as they thought. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to adjust to life outside. Some lost the option entirely. Once their home was sold or their savings drained by the cost of care, there was no going back. During my 2-month recovery stay, I saw how this reality trapped many residents. They had entered thinking they could leave if they wanted, but time worked against them. As days turned into months, their physical abilities faded, and their outside lives moved on without them. I realized then that every day is a gift, but for those in a nursing home, the opportunity to live differently often slips away. They became part of a system where leaving felt impossible, not just because of logistics, but because their confidence and strength had eroded. A specialist psychologist observes that this truth highlights how a decision we think is reversible can become permanent. Moving into a nursing home often starts as a practical choice, but it can reshape your entire future in ways you don't anticipate. The advice here is to plan carefully before making such a move. Consider your finances, your physical health, and your support system. Explore alternatives like in-home care or assisted living that offer more flexibility. Most importantly, have honest conversations with your family about your wishes, so they understand your desire to maintain independence. Ask yourself, have you thought through all your options? Because once you settle in, the barriers to leaving, whether financial, physical, or emotional, can be harder to overcome than you expect. Next, let's reflect on a broader lesson about living with meaning. Additional lesson: living meaningfully, lessons for moments. Beyond the 6 hard truths, my time in the nursing home taught me a profound lesson about living with meaning. During my 2-month recovery stay, I woke up one morning to learn that a resident had passed away in his sleep the night before. He had been laughing with us at dinner, sharing stories about his childhood, and just like that, he was gone. That moment changed me. I realized we live as if we have all the time in the world, telling ourselves that one day we'll do the things we dream about, say the words we mean to say, or live the way we always wanted. But then, without warning, one day never comes. I met a woman in her late 70s who carried a heavy regret. She and her sister had a falling out over something small, something neither could fully remember. They hadn't spoken in over 20 years. She told me, "I always thought we had more time. I thought one day we'd fix things, but one day never came. My sister passed away last year, and now I'll never get the chance to say I'm sorry." Her voice trembled, and I saw the pain in her eyes. That day, I decided to forgive those I'd held grudges against, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Holding on to anger only poisons the one who carries it, and I felt lighter after letting go, as if I'd been carrying stones in my heart for years and finally set them down. Another resident, an 85-year-old woman, taught me the beauty of living in the moment. Despite her circumstances, she always had a smile on her face. When I asked her secret, she said, "I don't think about what I've lost. I enjoy what I still have." She found joy in simple things: a warm cup of tea, the feeling of sunlight on her face, a good conversation. Her words reminded me that life isn't measured in years, it's measured in moments. A specialist psychologist notes that this is the heart of a meaningful life: focusing on the present, loving without hesitation, and forgiving to find peace. The advice here is to act now, call someone you love, pursue a small dream, or let go of a grudge. Don't wait for tomorrow, because tomorrow isn't promised. Write down one thing you want to do today to live without regret, and take that step before the day ends. Let's wrap up with some final reflections. Conclusion: reflection and action to live without regret. Looking back, my time in the nursing home taught me 6 hard truths that I wish I'd known before moving in. First, I lost my independence, surrendering the small freedoms that made life mine. Waking up on my own terms, choosing my meals, taking a walk whenever I wanted. Second, I felt the sting of loneliness as family visits faded, leaving me to face the reality of being forgotten. Third, I lost my sense of purpose, realizing that without daily tasks or hobbies, life felt empty and directionless. Fourth, my health declined faster than I expected, as the lack of movement eroded my strength and left me weaker than ever. Fifth, I lost my privacy and dignity, feeling like a patient rather than a person in a place where even the simplest acts required assistance. Sixth, I discovered that leaving a nursing home is far harder than it seems, physically, financially, and emotionally. The barriers can trap you in a life you didn't choose. Beyond these truths, I learned a broader lesson about living with meaning. Life isn't about the years you have left. It's about the moments you create. Whether it's forgiving a loved one, finding joy in a cup of tea, or pursuing a long-delayed dream, these moments define a life well lived. A specialist psychologist notes that the nursing home isn't always the wrong choice. Some truly need the care it provides, but it's a decision that demands careful thought. The hidden costs can outweigh the benefits if you're not prepared. The advice here is to prioritize your health now, build strong relationships, and live each day with intention. Don't wait until you're in a nursing home to realize what matters most. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Are you nurturing the relationships that will sustain you? Are you taking care of your body to preserve your independence? Are you living fully in the present or waiting for a one day that may never come? Start today. Call a loved one. Take a walk. Find a small joy to savor. These actions can shape a future free of regret. What will you do right now to live a life you'll look back on with peace? Let's share your thoughts in the comments as we close this journey together. We've uncovered 6 hard truths about nursing homes, from losing independence to facing loneliness, purposelessness, health decline, privacy, and the challenge of leaving, along with a vital lesson about living meaningfully in every moment. I shared my regrets, hoping to inspire you to make choices that preserve your freedom and joy, whether you're in Chicago or Florida. The 85-year-old woman who found happiness in a cup of tea taught me that life's beauty lies in the present, not in waiting for a better tomorrow. At Elders Wisdom, we're here to help you age with dignity and purpose. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share this video with loved ones who need to hear it. Your support helps us reach more seniors with life-changing insights. I'd love to know which lesson resonated with you most. Comment lesson below and share one action you'll take today to live without regret. Maybe calling a loved one or savoring a small joy. Your story could inspire someone else in our community. As you move forward, remember that aging isn't about the years you have left. It's about the moments you create. Don't let regret define your later years. Live fully, love deeply, and act now. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.